My name is Claire. I'm 32 years old and I live in a small town in Pennsylvania. From the outside, my life looks quiet and simple. I work at a bookstore, I keep my house tidy, I smile when people ask how I'm doing. But inside, I carry a story that almost no one knows. Every night before I go to bed, I sit by the window and hold an old photo in my hands. In it, I'm standing beside the man I thought I would grow old with. His arm is around me, his smile wide, and my eyes are full of a happiness I don't recognize anymore. But as that man, he left. One day, without warning, without answers, he was gone from my life. No goodbye. No explanation. Just silence where love used to be. People told me to move on, to stop waiting, to forget him. But how do you forget the person who once felt like your whole world? I told everyone I was fine. I learned how to smile at family dinners, how to laugh at work, how to say, I'm doing okay. But the truth was, I wasn't okay. Every morning I woke up with a heavy chest. Every night I cried quietly so no one would hear. Strange, how a life can look perfect on the outside but feel like ashes on the inside. For years I lived with that lie. That quiet ache. That invisible wound. And then one evening everything changed. I was closing the bookstore, turning off the lights, ready to lock the door. The street was quiet, the sun setting behind the buildings. I turned around and there he was, standing just a few feet away. The man I thought I had lost forever. My heart stopped. My breath caught in my throat. I wanted to run, to scream, to cry, to hold him, all at once. He looked older, thinner, but his eyes were the same. And in that moment I realized my lie was over. Because the man who was gone had come back. I thought he was gone forever, until the day he came back. The night I saw him standing outside the bookstore, my whole world tilted. For a moment I thought I was dreaming. My hands gripped the doorframe so tightly I could feel my nails pressing into the wood. Claire, he said softly. Just my name. But hearing it from his lips again after all those years made my chest ache in ways I couldn't describe. I didn't answer. I couldn't. I just turned the key in the lock, stepped past him and walked home in silence. My legs felt like stone, my heart like fire. That night I lay awake staring at the ceiling. Every part of me was shaken. He was here. He was real. But why? Why now after all this time? The next morning I forced myself back into routine. Coffee, work, smiles. To the outside world nothing had changed. But inside my prison walls were closing in tighter than ever. People think a routine is safety. But when you're hurting, a routine becomes a cage. I went through the motions. Shelving books, answering customers, listening to their small talk. I laughed when they laughed. But the entire time his face hovered at the edge of my thoughts. At home the silence felt louder. Every chair, every photo, every room still carried his shadow. I thought I had learned to live with it. Until seeing him again ripped the wound wide open. That evening I found myself sitting at the dinner table with a plate of food I didn't want. I pushed it around with my fork, pretending I was fine. Pretending my heart wasn't breaking all over again. And then the knock came. Slow, gentle, almost careful. I froze, my fork halfway to my mouth. When I opened the door he was there again. The same man I had once loved more than life itself. Can I come in? He asked. His voice was steady but his eyes were tired, pleading. I hesitated, every muscle in me screaming to shut the door. But I stepped aside. We sat in the living room across from each other like strangers. The clock ticked loudly on the wall. I didn't know where to look. You look the same, he said quietly. I almost laughed but it came out broken. I wish I could say the same about you. Silence stretched between us. Finally, I asked the question that had been buried in me for years. Why did you leave? His jaw tightened. His hands twisted together. But before he could answer, tears filled my eyes and I whispered, Do you know what you did to me? Do you know how many nights I sat here wondering if you were even alive? He closed his eyes, pain flickering across his face. But he didn't speak. Not yet. Instead he reached into his pocket and pulled something out. A folded piece of paper. He set it on the table between us. I stared at it, my breath caught. It's yours, he said softly. I kept it all this time. With trembling hands I unfolded the paper. It was a letter. My handwriting. A letter I had written to him years ago, begging him not to go, telling him I couldn't live without him. I had thrown it away the night he left. But somehow he had kept it. My chest ached so deeply I thought it might split in two. I folded the paper back, placed it down and whispered, "Why now? Why come back?" His eyes met mine, steady, searching. And what he said next made my blood run cold. I was learning to live without him, when I heard his voice again. He looked at me, his eyes steady but heavy, and said, "I came back because I couldn't carry the silence anymore." The words hit me like a wave. For years, silence was all I had from him. Now suddenly it was the reason he was here again. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw the letter at him, to tell him he had no right to come back after everything. But instead I just sat there staring at the man I had loved and the ghost he had become in my life. That night after he left, I lay awake replaying his words. My chest burned with memories I had tried so hard to bury. It had been almost 8 years since we first met. His name was Aaron. He had walked into my life like a storm, full of laughter, warmth, and promises. He wasn't like anyone I'd known before. He saw me in ways no one else did. And for a time I believed he was the missing piece of my soul. We dreamed together, planned together. We stayed up all night talking about the future, the kind of home we'd have, the trips we'd take, the life we'd build. And I trusted him with every part of me. But then one day he was gone. He didn't just leave me, he disappeared. His phone went silent. His apartment was empty. No goodbye, no explanation. Just a void. For weeks I searched for him. I called hospitals, drove past places we'd been, asked friends. No one knew anything. It was like he had vanished from the world. People told me he must have moved on. That he wasn't the man I thought he was. That I needed to let go. But my heart couldn't. My heart held on to him like a ghost that haunted every room, every memory, every breath. And in that haunting silence I made a choice. I married someone else. Not because I was ready. Not because I had healed. But because I thought maybe a new love could erase the old one. My husband, Daniel, was safe, steady, and kind. He gave me stability when my world had collapsed. But deep inside, a part of me still belonged to Aaron. The ghost of him lingered. On birthdays I caught myself wondering where he was. On quiet nights I still heard his laugh in my head. I told myself it would fade. That with time the ghost would finally die. But it never did. And now here he was. Sitting in my living room. Breathing the same air as me. Alive. After all these years. The next day I walked into work and tried to act normal. But my chest was tight and my hands shook as I shelved books. Sarah, my best friend, noticed immediately. "What happened?" she asked, pulling me aside. My eyes filled with tears. "He's back," I whispered. She blinked. "Who?" "Aaron." Her mouth dropped open. "Claire, you know. After all this time. What does he want?" I shook my head. "I don't know. He says he couldn't live with the silence anymore." He squeezed my hand. "You need to be careful. Ghosts don't come back without reason." That night Aaron came again. We sat at the table, the letter between us. My voice trembled when I asked, "Where did you go, Aaron? Why did you disappear?" His jaw clenched. For a long time he didn't answer. Then he said quietly, "There were things I couldn't tell you. Things I had to face alone. And I thought, leaving was the only way to protect you." Tears burned in my eyes. "Protect me? Do you know what you did to me? Do you know how many nights I lay awake wondering if you were dead? If I meant nothing to you?" He swallowed hard, his hands shaking slightly. "You meant everything to me, Claire. That's why I left." The words twisted inside me. Love and anger collided until I couldn't tell the difference. Because no matter what his reason was, the truth remained. He had left me. He had broken me. He had turned me into someone who married another man just to escape the ghost of him. And now he was back. I buried his memory, until the day it stood in front of me again. The days that followed felt like walking through a fog. Aaron's return had stirred something inside me I thought was long dead. But instead of answers, he had left me with even more questions. At the bookstore I smiled at customers and gave them their books, but inside my chest, everything trembled. My hands shook whenever the door opened, half expecting him to walk in. At night, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering if this was all a dream. I told myself to act normal, to pretend nothing had changed. But pretending is heavy. Pretending feels like carrying a stone in your chest every second of the day. One afternoon, Sarah came by. She leaned against the counter and studied my face. "You've been quiet," she said softly. "Is it about him?" I swallowed hard. "He's back, Sarah. I don't know why, but he is. And I don't know what to do with it." She reached for my hand. "Claire, you can't just pretend you're okay. Pretending doesn't heal you. If you don't face this, it's going to eat you alive." Her words sat heavy in my chest. She was right. I had built my life on pretending. Pretending I was fine after he left. Pretending I had moved on with Daniel. Pretending my heart wasn't haunted every single day. And now Aaron's return had cracked that mask wide open. That evening as I walked home, I saw him again. He was standing near the corner of my street like he had been waiting for me. "Can we talk?" he asked, his voice gentle but urgent. I hesitated but nodded. We walked to the park nearby, where the benches were empty and the trees swayed quietly in the evening wind. "Why are you really here?" I asked, my voice barely steady. "After all this time, why come back now?" Aaron's shoulders slumped. He looked older than I remembered, worn down by something I couldn't name. "I thought leaving would protect you," he said softly. "But all it did was destroy both of us. I couldn't carry it anymore. I couldn't live with the silence I left behind." I stared at him, anger and sorrow twisting inside me. "You didn't just leave silence, Aaron. You left me. You left my life in pieces." His eyes glistened. "I know. And I can't take that back. But I came back because I had to face you. Because no matter what I did, you never left me, Claire. You were always there. In every city and every night. You were the ghost that followed me." The words tore through me. For years he had been the ghost haunting me. Now he was saying I had haunted him too. I shook my head, tears spilling over. "You don't get to come back and say these things. You don't get to walk into my life like nothing happened." We sat in silence for a long time, the weight of years pressing down on us. Finally he whispered, "Do you hate me?" I looked at him through blurred vision. "I don't know what I feel anymore. Hate, love, anger, pain. Maybe all of it. Maybe none of it. But I do know this. Pretending I was over you didn't heal me. And seeing you now proves it." The park was quiet, but inside me, everything was loud. Memories, grief, longing, betrayal. When I finally walked away that night, my chest ached with a truth I had buried for too long. I had never really let him go. I had only pretended. And pretending doesn't heal you. I thought I had dreamed it, but it was really him. The night I finally let him in, the air felt heavier than ever. Aaron sat across from me at the kitchen table, his hands resting on the wood, his eyes never leaving mine. "I need the truth," I said softly. My voice trembled, but it carried the weight of years. "Why did you leave me? Don't give me half answers. Don't tell me you were protecting me. Tell me the truth." He looked down, his fingers tightening into fists. For a long time he didn't speak. Then slowly his voice came out low and raw. "I left because I was scared, Claire. Scared of what my life was becoming. Scared I couldn't give you the future you deserved. I thought I would ruin you if I stayed." Tears burned my eyes. "So you ruined me by leaving instead?" His eyes glistened and he shook his head. "I thought disappearing was kinder than staying and failing you. I thought if I cut myself out of your life you would find someone better. Someone safe. I was wrong." I sat back, my chest aching. "You were wrong," I whispered. "You left me with nothing but questions. You left me believing I wasn't enough." His voice cracked. "You were always enough. It was me who wasn't." The room went quiet. The kind of quiet that presses against your ears, that feels like it might crush you. After a long pause I said, "You broke me, Aaron. I tried to rebuild, but even in another marriage, even in another life, you were still there. Always there. And now you come back and you want me to believe what? That it was all out of love." He lowered his head. "No. I want you to believe that I never stopped loving you. Even when I was gone. Even when I stayed silent. You were still mine, even if I couldn't be yours." My whole body trembled. I wanted to scream at him. I wanted to reach across the table and hold him. Love and anger fought so loudly inside me I thought I might break apart. But instead I whispered, "It's too late, Aaron." His eyes lifted to mine and the pain in them nearly undid me. He nodded slowly as if he had expected this all along. We sat in silence for what felt like forever. No shouting. No blame. Just sorrow. Finally I stood, my chair scraping softly against the floor. "I can't do this," I said, my voice breaking. "I can't keep living with ghosts." I walked toward the door, my legs unsteady. My hand reached for the handle. "Claire," he said behind me. His voice was almost a whisper. I turned slightly, my vision blurred with tears. "Thank you," he whispered, his throat tight. "Thank you for not lying one last time." And then I walked out. As I turned to leave, he whispered, "I never stopped loving you." It has been nearly a year since that night. The night Aaron sat across from me and confessed the truth. The night I finally walked away. Now I live in a smaller place, a quiet apartment above the bookstore where I still work. My life is simple. My mornings begin with coffee, my evenings with writing in a journal I keep by the bed. For months, the silence felt unbearable. I missed him. I missed who he was to me, even if he had hurt me. Some nights I caught myself listening for his voice outside my door, half expecting him to return again. But he never did. And slowly I learned to stop waiting. Healing didn't come in a rush. It came in small, almost invisible moments. The first time I laughed without forcing it, the first time I cooked dinner for myself and actually ate it, the first time I walked through the park and noticed the sunlight instead of the shadows. One afternoon, while sorting through old boxes, I found the letter again. The one I had written to Aaron all those years ago, begging him not to go. My handwriting was shaky, smudged with tears. For a moment, holding it in my hands, I felt the old ache return. But this time I didn't cry. I folded it carefully and placed it back in the box. It no longer felt like an open wound. It felt like a scar. A reminder of what I had survived. People often ask me now if I ever hear from him. The answer is no. I don't know where he is or what life he's living. Maybe he thinks of me sometimes. Maybe he doesn't. But I know this. I can't keep living in the shadow of someone who left me behind. What I do know is that he came back and he gave me something I never expected. Closure. His return didn't fix me, it didn't erase the pain. But it forced me to face what I had been running from. That pretending wasn't healing me, that love without trust can't survive, and that sometimes, the person who leaves doesn't come back to stay. Now in the quiet of my new life I find peace in small things. The sound of pages turning in the bookstore, the smell of fresh coffee, the laughter of children running down the street. And in those moments I whisper to myself, I am enough. Even without him. Even after everything. Because sometimes the greatest love story isn't about who comes back. It's about how you learn to come back to yourself. If you've ever waited for someone who left, you're not alone. Tell me your story in the comments.